you very much. I'd like to actually welcome Jody all the way from Camp Jewell in Connecticut. Thank you so much for joining us on a late Wednesday afternoon, evening. How are you?
I am doing well. It is late here. It's dark already. So, but I appreciate it. I'm glad we can connect.
Yeah, definitely. For those that don't know, my name is Alan Perry. I am the Australian New Zealand Director of Camp Counselors USA. So I want to welcome everyone in Australia and New Zealand on joining us to have a chat to Jody and learning all things about not only Camp Jewell, but also how people can interview with you and get a job on the spot and go and spend summer 2023 at Camp Jewell. Jody, tell us a little bit about Camp Jewell, about the history and about yourself as well.
Yep. So my name is Jody. I am one of the full-time directors here at Camp Jewell. I have actually been here since 2004. So I am nearing in on the 20-year mark here in the next couple of years. And I have done a variety of roles here at camp. I have been a program staff, which is seasonal jobs. I've done our specialty ranch program. I've run in our office, our outdoor center, and I'm now currently our associate executive director. So I oversee all program and all staff hiring and staffing as well. Camp Jewell started in 1901, so we have been in existence for over 100 years at this point, and we've been on our site since the 1950s. So we're really well established. Folks know us really well here, and Camp Jewell is a traditional summer camp, so we don't run any focused specialty sports or anything like that. We're very traditional. We have boys and girls here, ages 7 to 16, and we run 2-week sessions, pretty much rotating all summer long for about 8 weeks of our program.
That's amazing. Oh, very cool. Now, you had a couple of really excellent Aussie staff, and you said that came and worked for you. In fact, I think they've only just finished up a couple of weeks ago. How did they go? How did the staff, get used to working at camp? Obviously traveling halfway around the world. How did they fit in?
Fantastic. We love our Australian staff. They just meld right into the camp culture and the camp community right off the bat. They tend to, jump right into the experience, are willing to try new things, have fun, go crazy, and just have a good time at camp. The jet lag is probably the biggest challenge. And so we usually try and get our Australian staff in a couple of days before we start putting them to work, just so they have a chance to collect themselves, get some extra sleep, and try and get on Eastern Standard Time, because it's a big time difference.
Yeah, definitely. Do we have anyone? Is Jess? I think Jess was going to try and join us. I think Jess might have. I see a Jess there. I'm not sure if that's Jess Buckler. So Jess, if you want to jump on and unmute yourself, please do so. Hopefully you can do that. Bear with me for a moment. Yeah, you should be able to do that, but hopefully, I know, Jessie, if you are, I know you're going to try and jump on. So I know she was doing a bit of travel and everything else. So if you're free, Jess, jump on and have a chat. But so jumping back a little bit about Camp Jewell, how many kids do you have per 2-week session, and sort of how many staff do you have? What's this camper to staff ratio?
Yep, our largest 2-week sessions, we generally max out at about 425 to 450 campers. And we, this past summer, had right around 150 staff. So we try and have a strong ratio of counselors to campers, just to be able to provide the needs of the campers, but also, staff need to be able to have their own community as well. So that's usually our goal, is kind of right along those numbers.
Excellent. Now, and also what percent, that's American staff and international. So what sort of percentage do you sort of sit with international to American staff?
Pre-post-COVID are very different numbers. Pre-COVID had about 40% of our staff were internationals and 60% were American. We're still working on rebuilding that experience. And this summer, we probably were closer to 65% of our staff, potentially even 70 if you include all of our support staff, were international staff for us.
Awesome. Okay, great. And the American staff, obviously most are college age kids. Do you have some that used to be campers and transition into being counselors?
We do. Part of our camp experience, we have a teen leadership program that works these kids through from 14 to 16 and then builds it right into a junior counselor role. And then they continue on with their experience. So we have a seasonal leadership in the summer, and a number of those staff that were in those roles traditionally were campers, then moved on to being counselors, teen counselors, and then are ready to be in a leadership role. So we have a pretty good program set up to help people build from their camper experience all the way to be a staff.
Excellent. Now, Camp Jewell's co-ed. So, how does the programming run during the course of the day? Are they combined classes? Are they like boys only, girls only? How does that work? And sort of what's the setup for camp?
Yep. So our program is completely co-ed. It depends a little bit on the age to how things are broken down, but almost all of our programs themselves run co-ed. We do have a couple of periods each week where we have what we call boy swim and girl swim, or at least the boy gendered cabins and the girl gendered cabins are done at the swim periods, but almost everything else is multi-gender. And so depending on the schedule will really depend on what it is. Some things tend to be more heavily gendered than the other, but it really just everyone does everything all together. And then for our cabins, we do have what we consider, male identified kind of cabins and then female identified cabins, but we also have many of our teen programs are within the same building, but they have their own separate sleeping quarters.
Awesome. Sounds good. Now, obviously, gone through now 2 summers of COVID. You've got your protocols and procedures down pat. Who knows where we're going to be in, 8 months time when Camp 2023 starts. But, I'm assuming everything ran smoothly this year and will continue to do so, under the guidance of your state and federal regulations.
Yes, we will plan to continue to run. Everything seems to adjust a little bit, sometimes weekly. And so this past summer, we did require all of our staff to be fully vaccinated. So in order to work at camp, that was a requirement. And then we did have procedures and protocols in place to test staff in between when campers left, when campers arrived, and then a plan should someone test positive while they're on site.
Awesome. Now, I believe you've got like a little video that you'll sort of give everyone an idea of what Camp Jewell's like. So why don't we play that, and then we can talk about the activities and the roles and what you're looking for. And I see Jess has jumped on. So once we've done the video, we might get Jess to jump on as well and unmute herself and tell us about her experience this past summer.
All right, fantastic. Hi, Jess. Bear with me. I am not the most tech savvy, so it might take me a moment, but hopefully we'll get it going. And I'm not going to play the video in its entirety because it is a little bit long, so I'll probably stop it right around the 2-minute mark or so.
Perfect. very cool. Sorry for if a few folks got a bit laggy. So apologize for that. Jess, are you there? Can you unmute if you'd like to jump on and tell people about your experience?
Hello.
Hey, Jess. Did that bring back some heart-wrenching moments, seeing you just left camp a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I miss it so much.
All good, all good. How was your summer?
It was honestly the best summer I've ever had. It was really fun and such a great experience.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, Jess, whereabouts you're from Australia, whereabouts?
Canberra.
From Canberra, awesome. So, and you got a job through the job fair that we held like this time last year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. And what was your role at camp, and what age groups did you look after?
So I was an LIT counselor, which is the Leaders in Training program. So I was with 15-year-olds.
Excellent. And then what you would be getting them ready to transition to be counselors in a year's time or two?
So then next year there'll be CITs for counselors in training, and then they'll become counselors the following year, or rangers.
Oh, awesome. So, and then what would you do with a lot of the 15-year-olds? Was it just more your general all camp activities, or were there more specific training sessions that you did?
So LITs, their program's kind of like a secretive thing, so I can't share too much on what I exactly did with the LITs in case any of you become LIT counselors. It's a very enjoyable program, the LIT. So the kids could only come and do the LIT session once because it's like a secret. And there's a bunch of fun activities they get to do. So it's different to main camp, but it's a very fun experience.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so you went over to camp. Did you do some travel after camp? But did you sort of go and hang out with some of your new camp friends?
Oh yeah, so after camp I traveled around with some of the friends I'd made at camp. And honestly, so the people you meet at camp are some of the best people you'll probably ever meet. They're all such kind-hearted people, and yeah, they're just really great.
Oh, awesome. Couple of words for those that are interested in going and working at summer camp in 2023. What would your recommendations be?
I definitely recommend doing it. I know it can seem scary traveling all the way to the other side of the world. Honestly, I was really scared arriving and starting. But once you get there and you meet everyone and see what it's like the funnest summer you're ever going to have, and you will not regret it.
Oh, awesome. Returning to camp in 2023?
Yes, I definitely will be there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, look, thanks, Jess. Thanks for jumping on, telling us about your experience. I appreciate that. Thanks. All right, cool. Jody.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Jody. Okay, so in regards to camp itself and the activity, so what types of activities does main camp do with the kids, and what do you look for in counselors to fill those roles?
Yep, definitely. So I love Jess is already talking some of the Camp Jewell vernacular. You pick it up real quick. So just to clarify, Camp Jewell, we call it a traditional camp. Our main camp is what our 7 to our 13-year-old campers participate in. So that's our traditional camp experience. That program, the morning period is spent doing skill classes. And so we are looking for staff that have skills and experiences teaching these different things. So anything from sports, nature, arts and crafts, drama, tons of waterfront types of activities, horses. I'm trying to think. You put me on the spot now, suddenly I'm just going blank. Archery. But then in addition to that, we also run these teen programs. And so those staff, we're looking for additional other skills, not just working with slightly older campers, but the ability or the interest or the knowledge to do ropes, whether it's low ropes and high ropes, team building programs. Those programs have also done some different challenge types of things, like a biking, mountain biking trip, a canoeing trip, or a hiking trip. So also having some of those interests or skills to be able to translate that to working with kids as well. And then other skills that we're looking for is we have a specialty horse camp called Ranch Camp. And so staff that have experience and background with horses is also something that we're always looking for to be able to join our team as well.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Now, when you say, to come and teach classes, obviously, that's probably one of the big questions I get from a lot of people going, look, I've never taught this before. I'm really like, I'm confident in my own skills and what I can do, but I've not taught it. Will that be a problem? So, how does that translate for you?
Yep. So we this summer are actually going to adjust our staff training a little bit to try and teach staff how to teach. It's obvious that a lot of staff come with a lot of skills and a lot of experiences, but that doesn't necessarily mean they know how to teach those skills to other people. So our ranch camp program has been doing that for years and years and years. So we're going to take that and tone it down a little bit to our main camp experience to kind of teach staff how to teach. So they have our expectations, they understand what we're expecting out of them, and then what we want them to be able to teach our campers. So it's not the end of the world if you've never coached or taught before. It's more about having the passion and wanting to be able to share your interest and your love for whatever it is you have, and to pass that on to our campers so they can also start to learn and develop their own passion for those skills and those experiences.
Yeah, I'm guessing fun and enthusiasm is probably key for that's probably the most important one, right? You can always teach a
Oh,
skill. You can't teach the fun enthusiasm.
you cannot teach the fun enthusiasm. I always say I hire staff first for personality. Those that want to have a good time, want to have fun, but more for those that want to come in and just make an experience and make a positive impact on campers. That's the number one thing that we're looking for with staff, is those that want to make a difference in a kid's life. Those are the ones we want to hire. The skills, the knowledge, that comes later.
Yep, perfect. All good, all good. Excellent. So, what would a typical day at camp look like for, I guess, a counselor? So what would their roles be? Obviously, maybe like a cabin counselor. How would that sort of work out?
Yep. So we hire our counselors and they fill a myriad of roles throughout the day, whether they're teaching a skill class, whether they've decided they want to come in and be trained as a lifeguard. We tend not to hire just specialty staff. So you're not just going to be on the water doing lifeguarding all day, every day. You kind of change it up a little bit. So generally speaking, our day starts about 7 a.m. when the bugle rings, nice and loud throughout camp, so everybody hears it. You have a little bit of time in your cabin to wake your campers up, get them moving, get them started for the day before they head out for we have called it the thought of the day, which is kind of like our morning meeting period, starting the day off on the right foot. And we base that on the values of the YMCA: caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. We are not a church camp or a religious camp by any stretch of the imagination. So we base everything on those 4 values. After our thought of the day, everyone heads in for breakfast. And after breakfast is broken up into 3 1-hour periods. And that's the time period when we're doing those morning skill classes. So counselors are either teaching a skill class, they're assisting a skill class, or they're in their scheduled hour off for the day. So that's generally how the morning runs. Everybody comes back together for lunch again. They head over to the mail room to pick up packages. And then after that, they have a rest hour where everyone goes back to their cabin and just has a period of kind of rest, relaxation, getting ready for the afternoon. The afternoon is then split into 2 periods. One period is spent at our waterfront, and the other period is spent doing a fun activity together as a cabin. After the afternoon, we come back together for flag lowering, and then again, a period of kind of announcements before we head into dinner, and then evening activity. After our evening activity, everybody heads back to their cabin for, we call it embers. It's kind of your closing of the day, the wrap up. And usually we have folks back to bed. Again, depending on your age group of campers, will depend on what time your lights out happen, but usually generally between like 9 and 10:30 p.m. Our staff are then able to head into our staff lounge at that point if they have someone in their cabin to help covering kids, to kind of shift back and forth and go hang out in the staff lounge and join other counselors and kind of touch base and have their own community time at that point.
Awesome. Now, so the days, obviously long, so you need to be prepared for that. I'm guessing you do get like a day off, maybe, some evenings, some extended evenings off as well throughout the session.
Yes, we operate in 2-week periods, like I'd said before. And so we do one 24-hour period off and then one evening off each week. So that way everyone kind of gets the same amount of time off in at the same time, and has hopefully a period of time to rest, but also a period of time where they can leave camp and kind of do other cultural experiences in and around Connecticut.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I always joke when I speak to people, I'm like, your new best friends at camp are the Americans that come to camp that drive their cars. So they're always the best to sort of hang out with and get to be your best friends, so they can take you off on your days off and your nights off as well, and you end up on the wild and wackiest adventures with them. That's like 5 years of my summer experience was all about that. So I'm assuming it's very similar still at camp.
It is definitely. We changed it up this summer. We actually hired a driver, and he specifically took our staff off site twice a day, every day. He had signups, and so he had local trips to Walmart and Target. So people wanted to hit those stores up. And then he also set up schedules to do things like the local beach, which is about an hour away, going to some of the malls, going to some of the theme parks. We have like a sports bar relatively close to us that does karaoke nights. So he set everything up to help our staff be able to get off site, because with a higher percentage of international staff and a lower percentage of American staff, it makes it a little bit more challenging to get off site. And so we anticipate and hopefully plan to do that again for 2023, just to be able to give everyone those experiences of leaving camp without necessarily feeling like you always have to buddy up with somebody who has a car and hopefully get off site at the same time as them. But definitely is a great experience to be able to leave camp. And I remember my first summer here, every time I had a time off, everybody was always, hey, where are you going? Can we catch a ride? I'd always be like, sure, chip in $10 for gas and we're all good. So it's awesome. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking for the staff, so obviously, we've got quite a few people on here. So when you're looking to hire staff, what's some of the, obviously you mentioned, a personality, enthusiasm, some skills. Anything else that, any inside hints that, the folks that are listening in, you can give when you're having an interview? Sometimes it can be a little daunting interviewing over Zoom. Any hints and advice for everyone?
Just be yourself. Everybody's always nervous when they want to talk to you, but it's just a time to be yourself. Don't be fake about it. We unfortunately had a staff member last summer, not from CCUSA, who was here for about 3 weeks, and then she was like, I don't like working with kids. We adjusted things for her in her program a little bit to be able to kind of help get her doing something different. She was still working with kids, but she was able to take more time off in the evenings and stuff like that to be able to just refocus on things. So just, be yourself, be honest. If we talk about a program and you're like, that does not sound like it's going to fit me, let us know, because we want to be able to make sure that if you're coming to camp, it's going to be a good fit for not only us, but obviously a good fit for you. Because if it's not a good fit, you're not going to have a fantastic experience. And that's then going to obviously transition to the kids. They're going to know it if you're not having a good time. So, just be yourself. I think the other thing that I always like to tell staff is be prepared for anything. You never know what a day at camp is going to bring. And it's just about being ready and willing for anything to happen. I was in the office the other day and I get a phone call and I'm like, the goats are out. How do we get the goats back at the mini farm? They're running around camp, so you never know what you're going to get called out to do. And so just be prepared and willing to try anything, and those are some of the best pieces of advice I can give you.
Awesome. That's great. So for the folks that are joining us or watching us live on the Zoom or recorded afterwards, look, it's a really easy process. If you're keen on Camp Jewell, or CCUSA works with about 1,000 camps across the US. So if you're keen on going over and experiencing an amazing summer like you could get at Camp Jewell, it's a really easy process. You just go to our website, ccusa.com.au. There's this big apply button. So you click on that and then just follow the steps to sign up for Camp Counselors USA. It's certainly not something you're going to be able to knock out in 20 minutes. There is an application. We're going to ask you about skills and experiences, because you know, the likes, like, you know, our camp directors like Jody, they want to see and they want to read about your experiences growing up and what you've done and what, you know, your skill sets are and how comfortable you be in sort of sharing your own skills. Once you've done that, there's an agreement to read and sign off on. A lot of terms in there are to do with the visa sponsorship. So CCUSA is your official visa sponsor. So we'll be sponsoring your visa and taking care of you from start to finish, and even when you come home here in Australia and New Zealand. Once you've done that, there are fees associated with the program. They are outlined up on our website. More than happy to have a chat to folks about those. But those fees will cover sort of the assistance of workload we do here before you go. Plus you get insurance, so which is where most of your fees go to. They go to cover insurance, and the insurance also has a medical element for COVID medical as well. So obviously, heading to the US, it's not cheap for insurance, for medical costs. So therefore the insurance sort of covers most of the costs that you're paying in Australia or New Zealand. Once you've done that, we'll have a chat to you if you want to have an interview with Jody. We are going to be doing our virtual job fair with Camp Jewell, Camp Maddip and I, who we'll be chatting with tomorrow, and then Camp Frenchwoods next Tuesday. And so all three camps will be on at the same time. You'll be able to book in your first interview with your number one choice. We'll get you booked up. You'll have an interview. They go for about 10 or 15 minutes. Jody's not that scary, so she's pretty easygoing, so it's good. You know, and then if Jody likes you, then, you know, very likely she'll be going, great, I'd like to sign you up and hire you on the spot. If you don't, that's fine. You can jump back out, and then we can always see if there's other camps that we can slot you into, or we do our normal placement process. We can't get all 1,000 camps on Zooms. Otherwise I'd be Zooming 24/7. But certainly, you know, there's a lot of other great opportunities out there. You know, there's a camp out there, I think, for everyone. So just as long as you're fun, enthusiastic, and like children is probably key. So it's good. Definitely. Look, there's a lot of other processes to go through, but that's what CCUSA and Australia and New Zealand are here to do. We're going to help you, walk you through that whole process, get you all set up, everything you need to do for your visa, getting that all organized, pre-departure meetings. We'll put you in touch with everyone else going to your camp through CCUSA globally. We have a Facebook group for Australia and New Zealand. So we really help sort of make you feel like you're part of that community before you go over. And, you know, as much as if you get hired at Camp Jewell, you know, you're part of the Camp Jewell family. Once you've done a program with CCUSA, you're part of our family as well. And that's really important. You know, we've got people that have been with us for many, many years. And we're seeing, you know, a lot of people that we sent to camp, they have grown up and they have kids, and now their kids are heading off to summer camp. So it's kind of neat to see that transition go through as part of the family. Any other words of advice there, Jody, before we throw it out, and we'll let people ask some questions?
Start early in the process. It's much easier to get things done sooner rather than waiting till the last minute and deciding at the last second. Oh, maybe actually I really do want to do this or give this a try. So start early. We have to hire about 150 staff once again this summer. I have about 50 staff that have already reached out to me from last summer interested in coming back once again, which is awesome, between its internationals and Americans themselves. So definitely start early, because the sooner you start, the sooner you can find a camp to be placed at. And then it's just smooth sailing from there. It's just a matter of prepping and preparing and getting yourself ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. And saving money for all that after camp travel. So that's kind of cool.
All the after camp travel. Most of the staff that come end up traveling. Now, mind you, I've traveled myself a fair bit out of the US because I married someone from South Africa, but I'm sure most of our international staff have seen more of America than I have, because they go all over after the camp experience.
Definitely. Awesome. All right. Well, look, what we might do is, why don't anyone that's in the group, why don't you unmute and pop on your camera, and feel free to ask some questions here of Jody or myself. Anyone from Australia and New Zealand want to jump on and ask any questions, please feel free.
Yeah, sure thing. I've got one actually.
Yeah.
This is Hayley. Hang on, I'll put my video on. That's scary. Oh, hang on. I'm blocking it on my laptop too. That's even better. Hang on.
You're fine. No worries. You're good.
Got it.
All right. Hey, Hayley.
So I'm Hayley, I'm from New Zealand, and I was just double checking because I'm really worried I might get put in a camp and I'm quite isolated from people. But like it sounds like you kind of got that sussed with the drivers and everything. But is there still like Wi-Fi? Am I able still to connect with people back home and call my parents and stuff? Is that an issue or no?
Yes, we have Wi-Fi in our staff lounge.
Oh yeah, sweet.
We ask that our staff do not have their phones in the cabins with the campers.
I'd figured that, yeah.
It protects you and it protects them. And so we have staff lockers that you can sign up for right in our staff lounge where you can place your phones. Our staff lounge is also connected to our dining hall, which is also where our health lodge is connected to. So if you have medications, you can keep them in our health lodge. If you need to be able to call home real quick for whatever reason, like during a meal or your hour off or your time off, it's all right there interconnected. Our office also, obviously I'm on Wi-Fi, has Wi-Fi. So we do have ways to connect you to your family
That's
if
perfect.
for some reason, or friends, back home and stuff. So definitely not a problem at all. We are definitely out in the woods. So if you're not connected to Wi-Fi, you're probably not getting on just cell signal. But if you're in one of the predetermined places that have it, you can easily get connected.
Oh yeah, sweet. Not that I was like, oh, I need Wi-Fi for the summer, but it's good to know that I've got that connection back home.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, look, and I must admit, Hayley, talking to some of our participants after they've been coming home from this past summer, they were quite good in sort of checking in. They said the first couple of weeks at camp, I'd always check in with family on my day off or my night off. But then they said as the summer progressed, the check-ins kind of bounced down the priority list. It was like, no, I've got to go out. I'm going to go and I'm off to the beach. I'm off to Walmart. I'm doing this. And so therefore the check-ins might sort of, bounced every 2 weeks. But most of them turned around and said that, their parents were following them on Instagram. So, they'd be posting photos on their days off. And so they knew they were still there and running around. So that was good.
I would say definitely check in with your parents. We actually had 2 different parents of international staff call us in a panic because they hadn't heard from their kids and were convinced something was wrong. Which we then, if there's nothing wrong, if there's something wrong, we would have reached out. But you get busy, but definitely stay in touch with family so they don't panic.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough. Thank you so much.
All good. I've got another question here, Jody. Curious, someone who's 27 years old, what's the general age of your counselors? Do you consider older staff? And how would that potentially work in?
Yep. So we had staff this summer, honestly, anywhere from the ages of about 18 to 30. We prefer our counselors to have had a year of college or university underneath their belt. So usually they're about 19 by the time they start with us as a counselor role. And then all the way up, usually about 30 to 32 is kind of our max. At least that's what we've had in the past. Being 27, you would definitely not be the oldest, but in all honesty, you would not be the youngest either. A lot of our teen counselors and our seasonal leadership staff are all 22, 23 on upwards to about 30 because they've been coming back year after year after year, especially our international staff. And in order to be in those teen villages, staff have to be a minimum 21 years old themselves as well.
Awesome. Great. Perfect. Sounds good. Any other questions?
Man, so easy.
I know. Surely we didn't answer all those questions. So maybe. All right. Well, look, give me a moment. I'm just going to sign out of our Facebook group. So for those that were Zooming in with us and watching us on Facebook, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the C2SA Australia and New Zealand office. Love to answer any questions. The Australia office is closed today, but we will be reopened on Friday. So all good. All right. Okay, perfect. Hang on, I will also